helping both the public and lawyers since 1899. They are the largest suburban bar association in the country. The Nassau County Bar Association offers clinics where you can meet privately with an attorney to prevent or solve legal problems involving Hurricane Sandy, foreclosure, wills, or elder law. Speakers on almost any legal topic are also available to schools or community groups. They can also help lawyers advance their legal careers and offer a place to network. Learn more about the Nassau County Bar Association by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Secrets of Success. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and today we're speaking with Cheryl Einhorn, author of Problem Solved. Cheryl, a lot of us take the easy way out when we have a problem or a situation, and I've learned through your book, and it's fascinating, that we all have certain biases that we work with, and I think it was around page 30 in your book that there's a lot of them that kind of give us an easy way just to make choices. Of course, they may not be the best choices, but I guess you'd call it maybe it's a fallback. Could you explain biases, and could you tell us some of the common ones that we rely on?
Absolutely. Look, much has been written lately about how we're all prey to mental mistakes. Behavioral science research and books like Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, for instance, they explain that we rely on faulty intuition and are swayed by authority and public sentiment. But they just don't give us tools or techniques to overcome our flawed thinking. Instead, the new research basically says that we allow these biases, these snap judgments and assumptions to drive our decision-making. And while these pathways help us make decisions quickly and easily, they really do impede our ability to think more open-mindedly and thoroughly about complex problems. Imagine, though, if you walked into the supermarket and were standing in the cereal aisle and you didn't know what kind of cereal you liked, right? You would have choice fatigue. You would just be overwhelmed. So we really need these biases, the assumptions and judgments. The problem is, as we were talking about before, they don't go away when you're solving complex problems. So the area method tackles this, and I think it's really the first system to tackle it, both to be able to control for these mental mistakes and also to counteract them through its construction as a perspective-taking process. Perspective-taking basically says, although you may think you understand how to solve a particular problem, your understanding of that problem is most likely incomplete and probably different from how other key players see it. But by walking in their shoes, you can better understand and recognize other stakeholders' considerations and incentives and motivations, and you may even come to understand the facts differently. So by moving through a research and decision-making process that acknowledges this truth, you can better manage your own perspective and more easily make a thoughtful and successful decision.
So, Cheryl, what I'm hearing now, if I have that, what is it, choice fatigue? I like that term. That's another cool term. I love the new words and terms and phrases I'm learning on this show. But I go to the supermarket and I just can't decide. There's 600 cereals there. But the first three people ahead of me pick up Cheerios. So I think, they must know something. They look like healthy people, nice people. They're getting Cheerios. Either it's on sale, it's good for you, it must be the popular cereal. So I go with it. Is that kind of biases in a quick way, or they put the cereal at the end of the aisle and I don't have to walk all the way down?
Well, that's right. That's called social proof.
Okay.
That's when, that's when sort of we tend to think and believe that the people around us sort of think and believe as we do, right? We see other people and we sort of like to run in herds and we follow what the other people are doing.
So we take the easy way.
That's right. We do. There's a couple of the very common biases. There are optimism bias, for instance. This is a bias in which we tend to have more confidence in our judgment than we probably should. So, for instance, we're probably only correct about 80% of the time when we say we're 99% sure. Another very common bias is the projection bias, which means without meaning to, we tend to project our thoughts and beliefs onto others and assume that they're wired the same way that we are. And this can lead to a false consensus bias, which not only assumes that other people think like we do, but that they reach the same conclusions that we have reached.
So if someone tells us, everybody's going to that event, you have to go, well, right away we think, hey, that's the popular event. All our friends are going to be there. We buy tickets and we find out we're the only ones there.
Right, absolutely. And so I have a chart towards the front of the book that basically takes you through a very brief description of some of the common cognitive biases out there that we've just been talking about. And then it has a little box next to it that says, well, you know what? This is how the area method handles it, and this is where you can find it in the book.
Cheryl, I'd like our audience once again to know if you're finding this fascinating as I am. The book is simple title, Problem Solved, by our guest, Cheryl Einhorn, Einhorn. And Cheryl, again, would ask you where the book is available and give us that website.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. Well, the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and it should be in bookstores everywhere. And the website is Area Method, AREA method.com. And we should just say that AREA is an acronym for the steps in the process.
Now, Cheryl, take us through a typical problem that you might take with your class, but the everyday world. We won't get into the complications of stocks and bonds, etc. But as you said, a decision, maybe picking a college or...
why don't we do picking a college?
Okay.
Because I just wrote a blog that I put up on my website this week, because this is a big week for seniors in high school all over the world. They've got to choose which college they're going to accept.
Perfect.
Right? Those acceptances are due any day now. So in my book, I talk about Micah. He is making the difficult college decision. He is choosing between Johns Hopkins with no financial aid or Pitt with some financial aid. And he would like to go into medicine. And he wants to be a specific kind of doctor. He wants to be a researcher. He's already had an opportunity to work in a laboratory. And so he really knows that he's going to college in order to fulfill his pre-med requirements and go on to medical school. But this is a big decision. And even though he thinks initially he'd want to go to Johns Hopkins, they have a fabulous reputation at their medical school, his parents say, you know what, this is not only a decision about your future, this is a major economic decision for the family as well. And so they used the area method. And in doing it, what they recognized was that the problem they were solving for wasn't really which college should Micah go to, but by using the area method, they recognized that it was which college will I be able to satisfy and make it through all of the difficult pre-med requirements so that I can apply to medical school and reach my dream. And so they were able to frame the problem differently. They understood the inversion that I was talking about, what constitutes success, which was how could Micah best get to medical school, which is a different question than which college am I going to. And then from there, he was able to deeply and creatively investigate what the pre-med programs and the support system for the pre-med programs were at the two different colleges. And it led him to a very unexpected outcome, in part because of the research he did.
Now, that's fantastic because you're saying sometimes you just have to reframe things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but it's not just reframing. I think a lot of us don't necessarily know how to solve a problem, but we do know what constitutes a good outcome for us. We can grasp a picture of success. And if we invert the problem and we think of it as what constitutes a successful outcome to us, now you are able to basically lay down a different foundation because you know ultimately where you want to end up in the outcome, and then you can solve for that.
Now, suppose someone came to you as they would to a surgeon to say, do I need an operation? And if so, kind of lay out the plan for me. Suppose this gentleman came to you about the college. Is this something that parents and the student can do in a fairly limited time? I mean, is it an hour or two? Is it 2 months?
I think that's an excellent question. The book lays out the entire system. But what I say throughout the book over and again is read the book once through so you understand what a complete due diligence process might look like. And then you can pick and choose which steps resonate with you. You can certainly truncate the process if you have something that is opportunistic or time-sensitive. If you do any part of this, you are still increasing the rigor that you are bringing to your decision-making. And that can make you feel a little bit better about it. And as you get more comfortable with it, you can try more steps. Think of it as getting on a bicycle. When you get on a bike for the very first time, it's just not that comfortable, right? It takes some practice, but over time you master it. Because essentially there's two types of learning. There's knowledge and there's skill. And the nice thing about decision-making and the area method is that it's a skill. I can teach it to you, and it can become yours.
I think that's great because this way I don't feel bad if I can't master everything on day one. It's like I'm not going to take my first few piano lessons and be as good as someone at the high school, college, and certainly, professional and upper levels. But if at least I can improve that decision making, and at least I'll be a better piano player if I've taken a few lessons than just trying to do it without it. How does emotion come in, though? Last quick question. Does that throw a wrench into everything?
How does emotion come in?
Emotion. In other words, if Micah says, but every uncle in my family or every doctor has gone to Johns Hopkins, does that mess everything up after he's done the whole procedure?
I don't think it messes everything up. I think some things actually are a leap of faith. Getting married, that's a leap of faith. Maybe moving to an entirely new community. Maybe you don't want to do it, but your partner wants to do it. That's a leap of faith. And, sometimes those are the most rewarding things that we do. But not everything is meant to be a leap of faith. We can work with and we can work through ambiguity. What we need is a good process to do that, because with a good method, a good process, you can turn good ideas into great thinking.
I love it. Cheryl, thanks so much for being with us. Again, we'd like to let our audience know the book is Problem Solved by our guest Cheryl Einhorn, Einhorn. Cheryl, the website real quick?
Is areamethod.com. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me through that too. And I really appreciate the time in the interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for showing us how to solve our problems. We'd like our audience to know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at this same time when we'll continue our journey to success.